It's lunchtime in Tulsa. I'm Dion Osborne, and you're listening to The Deep Dive on KBOB 89.9 FM, breaking down the issues and solutions that matter most, one conversation at a time. Live streamed on Facebook and YouTube at In Depth with Dion. Get your plate ready. It's time to eat. Tulsa, it is lunchtime. I hope y'all got something to eat. I don't. I'm a little bit hungry, but we got a good conversation. So I'm ready to get a full belly of the word that we have some great guests that are going to bring us today. So I want to get right into it. This episode is all about data centers, AI surveillance, and data centers. I know that we've had a lot of news coverage, a lot of community discussions online about the impacts, the benefits, and the cost of this technology when it comes to generative AI. So I brought in some experts to help us dissect the issue. So today we've got Jordan Harmon, policy specialist with the Indigenous Environmental Network. Thank you for joining us, Jordan.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
I'm grateful to have you. And we also got Chey Morgan with the coalition coordinator for the Stop Data Colonialism organization.
Hey, yeah, it's me, Chey. Yeah.
So first
thanks
of all,
for having us.
No, I'm grateful to have y'all on. How y'all doing today?
Good.
Yeah, good. Thanks for letting me sneak in here and sit down. And it's my first time being here, and it's really cool to see where the magic happens.
Yes. KBOB is that community space where we have the real conversations. And so I like to start with a little news brief to kind of center the conversation. When it comes to AI surveillance, I want to get right into it. So Ring, we all know Ring, the doorbell company, recently broke its partnership with Flock Surveillance. Those are those like surveillance cameras that different police departments and organizations, usually government, are starting to just roll out across the country, right? So after the Super Bowl, they had a Super Bowl ad where they were promoting the partnership. Like they thought it was going to be a good thing, but they got overwhelming backlash. And so they recently announced that they were splitting. Ring was splitting from Flock, and but it's still being used by police departments in Tulsa and others across Oklahoma. So this is technology that we have to really reckon with right here. But even beyond that, when it comes to surveillance, ICE has been using mass surveillance not just against the undocumented immigrants that they claim to be going after, but against U.S. citizens across the country as well. And so I want to read a quote from NPR. Quote, ICE and Border Patrol is using a broad web of surveillance tools purchased as its budget has ballooned under this administration to monitor, apprehend, and intimidate both the people it seeks to deport and the U.S. citizens critical of its policies in the real world and online. So we've got private companies working with these surveillance technologies. We've got ICE, which is, Trump's Gestapo working with, these technologies, and the military. So one thing I thought was interesting, there's this kind of battle between OpenAI and Anthropic right now, where, the military is basically saying, we want your technology to be used for mass surveillance and autonomous weapons, right? OpenAI got a lot of backlash recently where a lot of users are switching. So OpenAI runs ChatGPT, and there was this whole thing where a lot of users are switching from ChatGPT to Claude, which is run by Anthropic, because apparently Claude is the good guy in this situation. But I recently saw some reports that showed Anthropic is behind the AI targeted strikes happening right now in Iran. And so, and it's even possible that the technology could have been used on the strike that hit a girls' elementary school that killed over 160 people. And so I bring all that up to say that all of this technology requires data centers. So as we have this debate about the benefits of AI versus the human and environmental cost, I wanted to bring y'all in to help us understand the issue. So just to start it off, can you introduce yourselves, what your roles are in your organizations, and where you stand on data centers?
Yeah. Again, I'm Jordan Harmon. I'm Muskogee Creek. I'm from here in Tulsa, and I work as policy specialist at Indigenous Environmental Network, or IEN, and our organization works to advance policy that supports climate justice and Indigenous people's rights. And I got involved in data center fights beginning when the Muskogee Creek Nation proposed to rezone some trust land to build a hyperscale data center. And so we began organizing to defeat that, which it did get voted down. And then all these other communities started asking questions about, how did you do that? How can we do that? And so, yeah, my colleagues and I have been just trying to plug in and support communities as much as possible.
Awesome.
I am Cheyenne. I am the coalition coordinator for Stop Data Colonialism. We've been doing a lot of work nationally with Indigenous communities across Turtle Island to stop the expansion of the hyperscale data center buildouts. I got involved in the data center fight probably right around the time that Jordan did, maybe a little bit before, when we heard about Project Clydesdale, which will be pulling water from the city of Tulsa and dumping the water back into the waste treatment facility here in North Tulsa, and then being dumped out into Bird Creek. Anyways, yeah, all that to say is we've been putting in a lot of work, not only here in Tulsa, but nationally, with tribal leaders and communities across the country.
Powerful stuff. And I guess when you think about where we're at right now, I want to get into the specific, Project Anthem a little bit later, but kind of at the end of last year, we had 2 proposed projects here in the city of Tulsa, and one of them has gone through, Project Clydesdale.
Both of them actually have gone through. Project Anthem is asking for an additional 375 acres to be rezoned.
So this is not about whether Project Anthem will operate a data center. It's about whether it will be able to be expanded.
Right. And we're also hearing that if they can't get the additional 375 acres rezoned, that they're going to pull out of the project altogether.
So kind of pressuring the city to get it to do what it wants.
Exactly. Especially with Laura Bellis introducing a data center moratorium this coming Wednesday in the Urban and Economic Development Committee. Yeah, they're trying to backdoor that rezoning before the moratorium is put in place.
So I want to give people an understanding of how they can plug into this. So I know that Wednesday, what time is that meeting?
It's at 10:30. It's the Urban and Economic Development meeting. I would suggest that people email your city councilors and in support of a moratorium. And then March 18th is the rezoning hearing with the Planning Commission. That will be at 1 p.m. at City Hall. You could show up there and sign up to speak.
And so as early as this Wednesday, the public has an opportunity to at least maybe not speak at that Wednesday meeting, but they can sit in and show their presence and where they, the fact that they think this is an issue that, you should listen to them about.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they can contact the city council reps and put the public pressure on them to know that it's not a popular idea. They don't have to cave to the pressures of the corporation when the residents and voters are telling them, we don't want to approve this expansion. And if Project Anthem pulls out, then great.
So I want to get back into the nitty gritty of how we plug in Tulsa, but I want to back it up and put some respect on y'all's names. So Jordan, you and another organizer were recently recognized in Time magazine. Can you talk about what you were recognized for?
Yeah, so Time Magazine reached out because they had heard Chey and I appeared on KOSU radio actually a few months ago, and they wanted to know more about the Creek Nation data center, and they were really interested in the Native perspective on these technologies, of course, the environmental impacts and the water impacts, but also exactly what we're talking about, which is increased surveillance, militarized police, and the cracking down on people who like look a certain way. And Native tribal citizens have been detained by ICE. Famously in Seattle, this happened to an actress who's well known for being in TV shows. Elaine Miles was detained by ICE based off racial profiling, and when she presented her tribal ID, was told this looks fake. So her family and people on the outside had to like work to get her released and to verify her identity and things like that. So they wanted to know more about that perspective. And so my friend Mackenzie Roberts, who is from the Yardika community down in Henrietta, her community has been asking questions about ICE presence and about how the data centers are impacting rural people. And so they wanted to talk to us about our campaign with the tribe.
So, I mean, this is a national conversation.
For
well,
sure.
Across Turtle Island, I'll say.
Global, really.
Yeah. And before I get to you, your work with the Cherokee Nation that's ongoing, both of you, I want to apologize. So, Jordan, we've met before. We have a history, but this was our first time meeting in person. And so I never want to mispronounce a woman's name. That's like the number one thing you don't do. So, Chey, I apologize for that.
It's okay.
Yeah. But I caught a little bit of the Cherokee Nation press conference the other week, where they were announcing, Chief Hoskin Jr. was announcing a new executive order to establish a task force that would study the pros and cons. I believe I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but can you talk about, you spoke at that, you both were there and you spoke at that press conference. What is your role when it comes to this task force, and what do you hope to achieve?
We were actually approached by Chuck Hoskin's secretary that Monday or that Friday previously to coordinate a meeting with Chuck Hoskins. And the Monday before that executive order was announced, he basically asked for me, Jordan, and our colleague Ashley's input on the data center impact study that he was about to announce. And we provided him input on not only the environmental impacts of data centers, hyperscale data centers, but the cultural impacts of utilizing generative AI inside of our communities and things like that. Jordan can speak on it more, but our role is more of like a consulting role. We have the contacts of the task force, and they're going to be reaching out to us to ask for further input on that.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, and I think they were looking sort of for our support on undertaking this, because at the time when Project Clydesdale was being proposed, I don't think a lot of people were aware of the severe impacts of the data centers. And then over time, it started being covered in the media more. People were showing up to council meetings and things like that. So now the Cherokee Nation is looking at this like, well, we're getting calls from citizens that are concerned about the impacts, and we need to talk to these people who are working in Indian country on data centers and sort of like get their support on how to go about this. So our hope is that the task force, even though they do have a short deadline, will take their job seriously and not just try to shoehorn in a way to like make it work, but to really look at the information and the data on what the impacts are and what they will be within the reservation, because there's surely going to be more. I mean, there's already one in Claremore. There's surely going to be more all across the Cherokee Nations.
So, I mean, I just, the image of that, you had the chief and his administration sitting down, and then you three, because Ashley was there too, right?
Yeah.
With Honor the Earth. And y'all were just kind of standing over him as he's announcing this. And I'm like, oh, that's power right there.
They asked us to stand there.
What's her face?
I'm just like, y'all are looking at that signature very seriously. And so I know that, I hope that, as you said, they take it seriously. They really value your input and your consultation, because, I mean, this is something that's going to affect the next generations. It's not just us.
Yeah, and it's not only like Cherokee citizens that'll be affected, it's all of the people that are going to be living in eastern Oklahoma and that depend on the aquifers for water in Oklahoma. I mean, it's not just affecting Cherokee Nation citizens, it's affecting everyone. So it's very important that tribal leaders engage in this type of dialogue and these type of studies.
Well, with that, I want to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk more about how we can get plugged in Tulsa.
This is KBOB 89.9 FM, Tulsa. And now streaming 24/7 live from the Eden Media Studio. 24/7 live at KBOB899.com. The Juice Radio Show and KBOB 89.9 would like to say thank you to all of our listeners and sponsors who donate to help keep our media program alive, reaching the community. The Juice Radio Network continues to expand as influencers in the community of North Tulsa and beyond, but can't do that without your help. That's why it's important that we as a community continue to support the Juice Radio Show and keep 89.9 on the air. The community not only deserves this service, but needs this service. Let's continue to support the mission and giving a voice to the voiceless, and donate to the Juice Radio Show. The Juice Radio Show is a nonprofit 501c3 powered by KBOB 89.9 and Eden Media Services, operating solely off the gifts, donations, and contributions made by listeners like yourself. All donations made to the Juice Radio Show are tax deductible and can be sent to 1216 North Lansing Avenue, Suite D, Tulsa, Oklahoma 74106.
It's Tulsa, Tulsa. I see you here in Tulsa. I'm in Tulsa, Jimmy.
We appreciate your continued support, and thanks for listening to KBOB 89.9 FM.
Capture your most precious moments with Stephen Jones Photography. Whether it's weddings, family portraits, or special events, Stephen's passion for photography brings each memory to life with stunning detail and emotion. Offering a blend of classic and contemporary styles, his work is tailored to reflect your unique story. From intimate, candid shots to bold, creative compositions, Stephen's keen eye ensures every photo feels authentic and timeless. Based locally and available for travel, Stephen Jones Photography guarantees a professional, personalized experience from start to finish. Book your session today and let your moments shine forever.
And we are back. We just spent the top of the hour talking a little bit about AI surveillance and data centers and the impact. Now we want to talk about what's happening right here in Tulsa and how you can get involved right now. I know some people listening may be supporters of AI. Maybe you use it in your daily life for work, for education purposes, or whatever it may be. But I'm hopeful that you will at least just widen your perspective and be opening to listening to other perspectives, because this is new technology. It's a lot of things that we haven't really had a chance to test how it's going to impact us over the long term. And so that's all I ask, is that we just listen with an open mind. So, I want to ask y'all next, when it comes to Project Anthem. So we have a lot of things going on. We have City Councilor Bellis proposing a moratorium, which we can hear during Wednesday morning's meeting at 10:30 at City Hall. But then the following week is when Project Anthem is hoping to rezone to expand. Mm-hmm. So how would you describe Project Anthem? How would you say they describe it, like their goals for it? And, it's supposed to attract new jobs, right? It's supposed to expand our data kind of economy infrastructure in Tulsa. So, for those who who don't understand why it's an issue, what is Project Anthem?
Well, Project Anthem is an over 300-acre hyperscale data center development. Originally, when they introduced this a couple years ago, they had stated that once the facility is built, it will provide, I believe, 40 long-term jobs that would pay around $65,000. When you think about the acreage of this facility, 40 long-term jobs does not sound like a lot of jobs. And that's a massive amount of land. They're going to be consuming millions of gallons of water a day to cool these facilities.
A day.
Yes, a day.
It's hard for me to drink 1 gallon a day. They say you're supposed to get a gallon of water a day. That's wild.
Yeah, and all that water will be coming from the city of Tulsa, from all of our drinking water. You can't just pull it from a ditch. You can't pull it from a creek. They have to have drinking water because that water has to be treated with chemicals such as PFAs and other forever chemicals that cannot be filtered out. So once those are entered into the water, they cannot be filtered out. And once the water leaves the facility, it goes to our waste treatment facilities. And then from there, it's pumped into creeks and thus enters our aquifers. Not only the water issue, but the power issue. We're already seeing power increases because of these developments. PSO has been asking, they have asked and been approved by the Oklahoma Corporation Commission to do rate increases for ratepayers.
Again?
Yes.
And they specifically named data center development as one of the factors into approving that increase. Yeah.
So we're supposed to take on the added costs.
Exactly.
You know, I know like a lot of people probably have heard about the water consumption, but even the treatment of it, I wasn't aware of how they're adding chemicals in it that is then going back into our environment, back into our treatment facilities.
Yeah.
I mean, PFAs, that's something that we've been over the past few years really been sounding the alarm on. And you know what they can do to the human body, what they can do to the environment.
And they're trying to say that, you know, these are all under strict environmental regulations. And I asked, like, what are those environmental regulations? Because the EPA is rolling back regulations on Trump's command. Like, what are the environmental regulations that are going to be followed? Because there is minimal.
Yeah, they always promise to like follow all the state and federal regulations. Like we're within compliance of ODEQ. Like ODEQ constantly fails to protect us and protect the environment. You know, they don't test the water. They don't. So that promise like rings really hollow, and it does have an impact. I mean, you might have seen in the news lately where Ohio, like their sort of corporation commission has came out and said that we will necessarily have to lower the quality of our state's water to accommodate data centers.
What?
Yeah. So they know that that's going to happen, but they think it's worth it because of the money or for whatever reason.
I mean, we're not cyborgs. Like, what is this going to turn us into, you know?
Yeah. And additionally, also, there's the noise aspect, which some people do talk about, but like, there's not a lot of conversation about like how that affects your health. Like they claim that these developments are going to be under the required decibel limit, but they don't talk about the frequency of these sounds and how they have long-term health effects, not only on your mental health, but like long-term health effects like heart issues and internal gut issues, and it leads to like long-term dementia. Basically, the frequency of these data centers are comparable to LRADs.
So we're like it's weaponizing itself against us in a way. Just
Exactly.
running, just existing.
Yes.
Has negative impacts as a data center.
Yes.
And that's not even including like the heat generation, because they use evaporation to cool it, which is why it takes so much water. They're literally just like pumping heat into the atmosphere.
I had heard or read, I can't remember, but it was an article talking about what it's like working at one of these centers and how they try to hire people who are younger and healthy, like who can handle extreme conditions, because apparently you open a door and you just have this gust of hot air hitting you just because of from the operations of all this technology. And so I just say that to say, like, this is some heavy stuff, even for the people working in there. And if we are taking this big of a risk for something that's going to produce 40 jobs, I mean, does that even out?
Yeah, it's really not worth it. And there's one thing I would like to say, because inevitably you will get comments or responses from people that work in the field or work at data center and say, oh, I work at a data center. It's not loud. It's not a big deal. Like, there is a big difference between sizes, scales, and types of data centers.
Okay.
So someone who's familiar with working in data centers in this area,
Mm.
probably they're either not being honest about the differences, or they don't understand that the hyperscale data centers are so much bigger, like many thousand times bigger than what your average data center used to look like. And that the reason that they exist is to run large language AI models, generative AI models, and or cryptocurrency mining, and that the amount of energy it takes to run those things is a lot different than just data storage that you might sell to like a local business. We're talking about things that are literally fueling the police state. They're literally fueling the surveillance programs, and they are much louder, much more energy intensive and water intensive than like what used to be known as a data center. Even a relatively large data center is very different than these hyperscalers.
I want to touch on that because you're making me think of Boxtown, Memphis.
Yes.
I want to make sure we're sharing this live real quick. Boxtown was where I first really got introduced to the hyperscale side of data centers, because when you bring up cryptocurrency mining, that reminds me this issue was brought up around that time, around when crypto started getting popular. You know, like, oh, it takes a lot to run these blockchains, but it kind of fizzled out. The conversation kind of fizzled out. And now it seems like these companies, it almost seems like there's a strategy to try and get as many hyperscale data centers approved and passed and built, like they're on a timeline or something.
That is exactly the strategy. In fact, it was just a couple weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago, in the House subcommittee for like sciences and space technologies. They had a hearing on the data center build out, and they invited representatives from Google to come, and other like think tanks to come speak on the data center build out. Google literally is asking the House of Representatives to approve every project as fast as possible, to create vast exemptions for data center, because they're telling the government it's so important to build as many of these as possible so we can accommodate this growing technology, that we should just ignore environmental regulations, create exemptions, and approve every project. So there is this like sense of urgency coming from the corporate side of like, the reason is they've literally put billions of dollars into investing in a technology that has not paid out yet. And they are like desperate to get this stuff built to start getting returns on their investments.
Okay, that's the whole word. And there's a couple of things on that. Let's dissect that, because the Trump administration is listening. Like, didn't Trump really recently pass an executive order blocking states from regulating AI?
He's trying to do that, yeah.
So he's proposed that. And then on the last part that you said, like, I had read that it costs like millions of dollars every time there's like a new update for ChatGPT. Like for them to the process of creating updates, like getting the information and you know, using the data centers to, you know, kind of create this new version, it costs them so much money that they're actually losing money every time they update. And like you said, they're trying to get that money back. And so where do people fit into this? I mean, you're a regular person, right? You maybe have ChatGPT on your phone, and let's say you're using it to help you do an outline for something, or to plan a meeting, or how do I tell my boss, you know, how do I say this to a person in a way that's not going to get me fired? Like, there's so many different ways you can use ChatGPT. Some people use it as a therapist, which I would not recommend that one. You know, they're currently facing some lawsuits after there's been some unfortunate deaths caused by that. For a regular person who feels that maybe they're having to make a choice, you know, are is it morally wrong to use this technology?
Absolutely. I say 100% morally wrong to use this technology. This technology is being weaponized against us. Not only is it being weaponized against us, every single input that you have put into these systems, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever your generative AI that you're using, it is stored and used to train further models of generative AI. And all of that information is being used to further police people here. It's not just policing. I mean, we're seeing levels of extraction that we have seen before. It's just a different new shiny toy, and it's being used to exploit communities.
And I would say when people are facing the choice of like which model is the most moral, like I would say there's always the choice to not use it and to reduce reliance on AI in a similar way that like we're grappling with reducing reliance on social media and the negative impacts on our cognitive abilities, our emotional intelligence, things like that. AI is having that effect on young people who are becoming addicted to using ChatGPT in a way that we experienced with social media, and there's real like cognitive impacts to that, in addition to the environmental impact. Like you use like 5 bottles of water every time you like type 5 sentences in ChatGPT or something like that. In addition to the surveillance side, freely giving your data, your ideas, your information to a company like OpenAI, and Anthropic Claude is not the good guy. They are equally as invested in the military and surveillance state. The only thing they were able to analyze and calculate that for the reputation of their business, to keep the public on board with their business, they had to say no to the surveillance of U.S. citizens, which the government is still trying to bully them into. But like you mentioned at the beginning, they're totally on board with Pentagon and the military uses. And it's just a matter of time before Anthropic or OpenAI or the next company is deployed against American citizens, like even more than it already is.
So what about so in journalism there is a debate happening right now, right? And I'll be honest, like when I believe it was 2024 when I first heard of ChatGPT, and I was being asked to like use it at least when it comes to like make quicker outlines for your stories, or you know, for like planning purposes, right? And I would dabble with it here and there, but I just didn't like the unhumanness of it. And I was even starting to notice that just even like writing a headline was becoming more difficult, because like the quickness at which ChatGPT can kind of reduce your cognitive faculties the more you use it. And so a couple weeks ago, I was in Atlanta at this fellowship, Ida B. Wells Fellowship for Investigative Reporting. And there was like 10 journalists, Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, from around the country. We were all kind of just learning from some of the experts in the field. And there was 2 days during that week where they taught us about like how to code and then how to use AI to code, right? And there was there were a few of us who were asking questions the whole time, moral questions. And I remember one friend, Stephanie, she flat out said, like, I'm not using this technology at all. Like, I don't care if it makes things faster. I'd rather go slower. Like you make it faster, and then just so fast you're not gonna need humans at all. But we were asking these experts from like New York Times, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, publications from, national publications about the moral cost and how they feel about it. And you know what's crazy? None of them could give us an answer. They'd spend 5 minutes talking about how, yes, I understand what you're saying. It's definitely an issue we should consider, but here's how I use it. And I don't really have an answer for you about how it's going to affect the future generations. So some people basically feel like if we don't use it, we're going to get left behind in the race, the new race, right? There's always a race of technology. But then if, other people are like, well, I don't want to be part of a system that is hurting people and the planet. And I don't think that debate is going to stop in journalism and different industries. I've made the decision, especially after that, that I don't want to use ChatGPT or anything like at all in any aspect of it, whether it is organizing, planning, any of that, because for everything that you've just stated, and because I want to keep my brain faculties when I'm 60. And so what's next? What's next on the local level when it comes to Project Anthem and advocacy efforts? I know that on Thursday, there's an event. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we're having a town hall talking about the impacts of hyperscale data centers on Tulsa on Thursday at Pancho Anaya at 5:30 to 7:30. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be doing, and it's at the East Tulsa Pancho Anaya, because that's out where Project Anthem is a little ways. We've had many town halls. The first one we did was in Tulsa at Central Library. And they've been pretty successful with getting people activated and sharing knowledge about like what the impacts of not only the hyperscale data centers are, but like what generative AI will do to our community.
And so that's an opportunity for people to come out. You don't have to say anything. You can just come out and just listen to the information. But if you are interested in getting more involved, it's an opportunity for you to meet some people, meet some organizers who can help you get tapped in.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it is.
And to learn more about the impacts if people have questions about, I mean, I know that there's all kinds of like media coverage about it right now, but people still have questions like, what is this going to mean for my neighborhood? What does this mean for the city of Tulsa? And there's this other element of like these cities sort of almost like unethically acquiring land outside of their city limits in these land annexation processes, so that it's now within the city limits, but nobody that lives near the project is able to vote in the city elections because it's out in the county area. So this is what's going on in Sand Springs, for example. This is what's happening with the Coweta project, Atlas, for example. So that's like another like sort of localized issue that people will have questions about. Like, what is this doing? How much can Tulsa city water even take? You know, if they're using millions of gallons of water, they're using the equivalent of like several 100,000 American homes in water use, which American homes already use way too much water as it is. How is that impacting our city where we have like unprecedented growth? You know, we're reaching the highest population we've ever had. We're going to start feeling the strain on those resources soon. And it's going to be certain people with, you know, lesser privileges who are going to be asked to reserve your energy, reserve your water, accept the sacrifices. That's how sacrifice zones are created.
You know, when I think of the word extraction, I think of Oklahoma. We have been the extraction point for oil and gas since statehood, before statehood. And this seems like the new era of that. And we know what happened with oil and gas, right? Like we're dealing with these oil wells now. I know the Frontier has been really doing a great job of covering wastewater wells and just disposal wells that were not even disposed of the way that the regulations said they should be disposed of. And so communities, mostly rural communities, indigenous communities, a lot of times are having to deal with the impacts of this. And I think for a lot of us in like the urban areas, you know, out of sight, out of mind, you know? So with that, we'll take one more break and we'll be right back.
This is KBOB 89.9 FM, Tulsa, and now streaming 24/7 live from the Eden Media Studio. 24/7 live at KBOB899.com.
Capture your most precious moments with Stephen Jones Photography. Whether it's weddings, family portraits, or special events, Stephen's passion for photography brings each memory to life with stunning detail and emotion. Offering a blend of classic and contemporary styles, his work is tailored to reflect your unique story. From intimate, candid shots to bold, creative compositions, Stephen's keen eye ensures every photo feels authentic and timeless. Based locally and available for travel, Stephen Jones Photography guarantees a professional, personalized experience from start to finish. Book your session today and let your moments shine forever.
Sound familiar? Well, guess what? Sounds like you need The Last Stop Shop. The only name you need to know. The Last Stop Shop. Tulsa area's #1 mobile mechanic service. And they come to you. They get you running or stopping again. From brakes to starters, alternators, generators, RV, even welding repair. They also do mobile fleet maintenance and mobile oil changes. Like I told you, this will be the last stop you ever make. Call The Last Stop Shop. Tulsa area's #1 mobile mechanic service at 918-405-3970. That's 918-405-3970, and they'll have you back up and running in no time. Mention you heard this ad on KBOB 89.9 and receive 10% off your first service. Who you gonna call? The Last Stop Shop. Tulsa area's #1 mobile mechanic service. That number again is 918-405-3970.
How to order chicken wings. Number 1, find a good wing spot.
I know a wing spot, Max Wings.
Number 2, decide if you want a combo or if you want to order a la carte.
Huh? What's that?
Well, combos come with chicken, veggie sticks, fries, and a drink for a discounted price. A la carte means that you order each item separately.
Okay.
3, decide if you want bone-in, boneless, or cauliflower wings, and then determine the delicious flavor you want on your wings.
I didn't even know cauliflower had wings.
You learn something new every day. Have you been to Max Wings?
Yep.
Max Wings is located at 782 East Pine Street in Tulsa. We're open Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. and on Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Come to Max Wings, home of the dry rub fries.
Hey, Tulsa! Do you have something to say that everyone needs to hear? Have you ever thought about starting your own radio show podcast? If so, I have the answer. You need to be down here at KBOB 89.9 FM. You can reach us at 832-443-9499 or go to our website at KBOB899.com. You will be streamed on all the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube. Get your message out. We need to hear what you've got to say. Give us a call today. That's 832-443-9499. We'll be waiting.
Family and Children Services and Morgan Health Services are excited to announce our new location at 240 East Apache is now open. We're bringing mental and medical health services together all under one roof. We can help with transportation to the clinic and with center care enrollment. Offices are open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and walk-ins are welcome. So come by in person or call to make an appointment at 918-587-9471. Your next step is to be here.
All right, we are back. I want to give a quick shout out to a couple community members who have supported me. Shiloh Kantz, Nancy Moran, I appreciate your support. If you want to keep this show on the air and become a sponsor or partner and have your own ads on KBOB, make sure you reach out to me at DionOsborne.com. That's DeonOsborne.com. I almost forgot how to spell my own name. Reach out at DionOsborne.com. We'll make it happen. So we spent most of the hour talking about AI surveillance and data centers, pros and cons, the impact. What I want to spend the last few minutes talking about with y'all is when it comes to our communities, Indigenous communities, Black communities, we have been left behind historically since the founding of this country, right? We have been marginalized, ostracized, attempted genocide. There is this push, right, even amongst our own communities, that this technology can be used as a tool to level the playing field, to close those racial disparities, and to empower the next generation economically. Why is this technology not the answer?
Well, that is a whole, I mean, that conversation could go on for hours, but I will just say this, that, I mean, it's not, that's what you just named is not a new situation. Every like sort of capitalist venture that has come up in our communities has been sold to us as a way to get ahead. That was true for fossil fuels. That was true for nuclear energy, which is coming back up again because the data centers. I mean, every single step of the way, they've tried to bring our communities on board to like validate its existence. Mm-hmm. And so they're in some instances throwing money at our communities, offering scholarships, internships in the tech field, telling tribes use this AI model and it can make your, government systems more effective to serve your citizens. It's about serving your citizens better. But it's a trick because the wealth gap and the inequality gap is increasing drastically because of the tech companies. The wealth gap is even more than ever. And there may be like some cool little tool you can use that was developed by Anthropic or some other company, but look at what they're doing to the community at large. Like look at Detroit, where there's multiple lawsuits of primarily Black men who had been wrongly identified by facial recognition technology and detained by the police because the AI itself is racist. Like the AI itself is imperfect at identifying things. And even when you use it to try to make your life easier to get ahead, like it's decreasing the quality of your work. There's studies showing the hegemonization and the hegemony of using AI, where all the responses start to look and sound the same. And the information and the ideas that are presented as like broad and open and they can help you, it's actually narrowing people into like the same ideas, and it's not making people more creative. And so I'm hoping that our communities will not buy into the sort of song and dance, the like snake oil salesman coming to them and saying, this is going to increase your equality, when what we know is happening is it's actually decreasing. We're being more surveilled than ever. And like using a tool like Claude AI to try to make your work easier, like you're voluntarily, willingly, knowingly participating in the advancement of inequality by doing that. And it's hard to connect those dots to people because it feels so innocent. It's just as easy as using an app on your phone, but it's really not. And so I hope people can raise their own awareness about how technology impacts them, and to look into sort of the dark underbelly of the technology world. That includes financing, that includes politics, that includes war. I mean, it includes all the things that people don't want to think about because it's painful, but that's what's happening. So what we should be doing is working together as communities to protect ourselves and to protect each other, reduce our reliance on big corporate tech, reduce our reliance on, corporations in general, but that's very hard when you live in a capitalist corporatocracy for a government. But that's part of it. It's all part of this big fight. Like it's all connected. Everything. If you're fighting against police violence, like you're connected to the fight against data centers in this way. If you're fighting for wealth equality, you're also in the fight against big tech. So I hope that people will see the spider web of connection and know that when we're living in this world fighting against the rise of fascism, every piece is important. And that includes your individual use of something like ChatGPT. It's one of the few things where, as individual consumers, we actually have the power to stop it.
True.
Like just seeing ChatGPT in the news about the surveillance has caused like 250% increase in the amount of people deleting the app. And they're trying to respond to that. So it does make a difference. And I don't want our leaders and our communities to fall into the money trap of like promises and, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, kind of thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, something that I would say is that, like, when you see these tech companies lobbying really hard in governments, like not only the federal government and the state government, but you're seeing them lobby in your school boards, your city councils,
Yeah.
and your tribal governments as well. They're approaching these people that are leaders in your communities with non-disclosure agreements in hand. And they're saying, we want to have a conversation with you. We're going to offer you millions of dollars to develop a data center in your community. But you have to sign this non-disclosure agreement. So you can't be fully transparent with your community about what's coming to your community. And you look at the areas where these data center developments are targeting, and you look at communities like Boxtown, Memphis, where it's a primarily Black community, and they're targeting these areas because they don't want them in their backyards. I mean, just make all the connections. Like, there's a level of extraction when it comes to developing out these technologies, and they're doing it on the backs of Black and brown folks.
You know, I think it was easier to ignore the issue when the centers weren't popping up in your area, right? Like, it's easy to just download an app and mess around with it when you don't have to drive by the actual example of how it's impacting your community. And so I think that that's really where this reckoning is coming from. The fact that these companies are just gung-ho, just trying to, I mean, they're popping up faster than dispensaries after 788 was passed. Like, they want to have more of these data centers than churches. You know, it seems like, and I'm just like, you know, is there a way that we can advance technology without harming the environment?
That's a big question that involves the systemic nature of like capitalism, corporatocracy, and militarism, where there's almost nothing that's like involved in this economy that's not actively participating in the rise of fascism because of the reality of the systems. So, like, does this idea of like good technology exist? Yeah, sure, of course. Like, we're using technology right now, but the problem is on a systemic level. So we can make a difference by stopping the data centers. They need the infrastructure. They can't run AI without hyperscale data centers. They can't run their surveillance programs, Immigration OS. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
They can't run those things without the hyperscale data centers. So that's a point of intervention right there. And anything that is developed in a way that's like beneficial to communities is almost always smaller in scale. Like you said, slowing down, not just rapidly doing it as fast as you can just because it's there and you're scared of getting left behind, but mindfully assessing what your needs are, what the opportunities are, and what the impacts are before deciding to develop a certain type of technology, and localizing your focus onto certain issues. And there's people are misunderstanding when you just say AI, artificial intelligence, that can mean a lot of different things.
Right.
So there's some types of AI that have been in use for like a really long time, and they don't depend on constant generation and scraping the internet to like make them work. It's these mass surveillance programs, the flock cameras, the generative AI, the things that do require constant access, like non-consensually and questionably legally to all of your data. And those are the things that OpenAI is using: Anthropic, Palantir, Immigration OS, Amazon, Meta. I mean, those is the top 10 companies are causing a lot of different harm, not just in technology, environmental. So I don't, I know people are going to try to find a way to make it work for them, but I'm just trying to get people to understand that its very existence is inherently working against them. That until you're able to, Danielle Boyer is a good example. She's a Anishinaabe young woman who developed a robot that can speak her language.
Wow.
And she's tried her best to do it in a way that was ethical, does not rely on hyperscale data centers, does not rely on data scraping, does not put Indigenous data at risk, and actually incorporates and utilizes first language speakers in the use of this little robot. So those kind of things can exist, but even that has an impact. I mean, that still requires a computer chip to work, which requires mining. I mean, it's a whole system.
Right. So. I'll leave it here before we go. One thing that gives me hope is that slowing down isn't always a bad thing. Journalism has faced a lot of distrust over the years. And it's when we get back to local, making that local impact with real people on the ground that we regain that trust. And so trying to be first at everything, trying to be the fastest at everything, trying to be everything, every time, everywhere, doesn't automatically gain trust. In a lot of ways, it's lessened trust. And so I think that can be an example that we can use to approach this new technologies. That do we have to have everything every time we want it everywhere?
I don't think that we have to have everything at on demand. I mean, our people are ingenious. I mean, we have, created communities with each other. We have survived generations and millennia together because we're ingenious. We don't have to rely on these systems, these capitalist systems, these systems of exploitation in order to care for one another, in order to make advancements in our community and, create our own systems of care.
I agree.
That's a whole word.
That's the word right there.
Well, Jordan Harmon and Chey Morgan, I appreciate y'all for being here. Make sure y'all turn out to the Wednesday morning, 10:30 a.m. City Council planning meeting, the urban, say that name again.
Urban and Economic Development Committee.
Where Laura Bells will be introducing a moratorium on data centers. And also make sure you turn out Thursday night from 5:30 to 7:30 at Pancho Anaya for a town hall on this issue. That's the deep dive. I'm Dion Osborne. I will see y'all next week.
Thank you.
I'm Dion Osborne, and this is KBOB 89.9 FM Community Radio. If you want to keep conversations like this on the air, you can support the show at DionOsborne.com or Cash App In Depth with Dion. Until next time, stay blessed.